Hey everyone, welcome to day 17 of our YouTube live series. We do daily YouTube live for 30 days. That's a challenge that we have given ourselves on business ideas, business opportunities, business topics. If you guys find any of this stuff interesting, please like, please subscribe, even just watch our videos. We've done 17 of these videos now, and we'd love to keep doing more of them. For those of you who don't know, we actually host a podcast as well, and we have done more than 70 episodes over there. One of the top performing podcasts on Spotify, on Apple about entrepreneurship. Okay, getting into the topic of the day, which is helicopter rental. I am super excited about that because it is such a strange topic because there are very, very few companies that do helicopter rental in India. In fact, we looked it up right before this video, and there are only 98 companies in the whole country who even own a helicopter.
Yeah.
So it's a niche business. We love niche businesses. So we're going to talk to you about the helicopter rental industry. So what I did was I have a friend who has been in the helicopter rental industry for the past 20 years, I think. And I sat down with him. I spoke to him for like half an hour, 45 minutes about the entire helicopter rental business. I got the entire economics of the helicopter rental business, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So sit down, get ready for about 5 minutes of just pure numbers. Siddharth, if it gets boring, let me know. Ask me a question.
Yes, I
Okay.
will.
Getting into it, there are two types of main helicopters. There's a single engine and there's a double engine helicopter. So single engine helicopters, they tend to be 2 or 3 seaters, or at the max, they can be a 6 seater helicopter. And second hand, so most helicopters in India are bought second hand. So second hand, these helicopters usually cost around 2 to 3 crores, and they can go up to 5 crores, and it all depends on the age. Double engine are 5 or 6 seaters, and they're usually used for commercial lines. And these are need to be used for oil rigs. Because you cannot use a single engine helicopter to go to an oil rig, it has to be a double engine because single engine is not allowed over water. So these helicopters usually start at around 7 to 8 crores, and they can go to about 25 crores, depending on age, depending on brand, depending on so many different things. Usually, what happens, this is what my friend told me, is that ultra rich people, they call ultra HNIs, they buy helicopters for themselves and then they give it out for rent on days that they don't need it, right? So imagine Poonawala, Adar Poonawala, the very, very famous Poonawala who became famous because the vaccine. He has some helicopters, and I don't know if he does this. I don't know if Poonawala does it. But if he needs to fly from Pune to Bombay, back to Pune, he probably bought a helicopter for himself to make it a quick trip. But on days that he's not using it, he can just rent it out to whoever. Okay, so now getting into the economics of running a helicopter business. So maintenance is extremely important because in case your helicopter crashes, you are going to be liable for the deaths of the people. I actually know somebody to whom this happened. So maintenance is around 8 to 10,000 rupees per flight hour, depending on how much you fly. And this usually also includes the parking of the helicopter. So there's one company that does the parking, does the maintenance, does all of it together. Fuel is around 20,000 rupees per hour. Double engine would obviously be higher because there's higher fuel consumption. Pilots, for a single engine, you just need one. For a double engine, you need two pilots. Each pilot will take a salary of around 3 lakhs per month. Not a bad job to be in, right? That's a good salary. Single engine helicopters with a 4 to 5 seater capacity usually have a running cost of 45,000 rupees per hour, and that includes your fuel, includes your maintenance, includes your pilot. And on top of all of this, there's also your landing and takeoff costs. So most places charge around 10,000 rupees for landing and takeoff. But there are certain places that charge more and certain places that charge less. For example, Mahalakshmi Racecourse in Bombay, for whoever knows that place, they charge 15,000 rupees, not 10,000 rupees. That Mahalakshmi Racecourse is very close to Ambani's house. So I'm assuming he uses that quite a bit. So what is the price? If you want to rent a helicopter, what is the price? Usually the price is around 70 to 75,000 rupees per hour plus taxes. And for the airline, there's around 15 to 20,000 rupees of profit, which does not include the broker fees, which is around 5 to 10%. So,
Sahil,
yeah.
why do you need a broker in this? Like, what's the broker's job here?
Okay, that's a good question. And that's actually the job that my friend used to do. Renting helicopters is all about the network that you have, right? If you're a really, really well networked person, yeah, you can probably get like Hrithik Roshan, you can get Shah Rukh Khan, blah, 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 blah. But I'm guessing if you're running a day-to-day helicopter business, you don't have the time to do all of this networking. You don't have the time to go out and sell. So you need the broker to go out and then sell to all these like rich people who can afford it. So I asked my friend, like, who are these people who buy helicopter space? And what he said was that it's mostly politicians, movie stars, medical emergencies, and sometimes it's business people. I was surprised by that. I thought it would be mostly business people from Bombay going to Pune, going to other places.
Dude,
But
business
no,
people from Bombay are Gujaratis and they know way better than this to spend their money on helicopters.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah,
I'm
so
not generalizing. I'm sure there are other business people in Bombay. Yeah.
I'm a business person from Bombay. I'm Gujarati, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Your stereotype works. But
Yeah.
it's also because a helicopter can't travel more than 1.5 to 2 hours, right? So, for example, Bombay to Pune is around 1 hour and 10 minutes in a helicopter. So you can't. The distance is not that much. So even if you're going from Bombay, where are you going to go? You'll go
Yeah.
to Pune. Maybe you'll go to a factory somewhere close by. But I guess for a business person, it doesn't make sense.
Makes sense.
And so I asked him about a few of these helicopter companies. How do they operate? So there's one called Deccan. And what he said is that Deccan doesn't actually own any helicopter themselves. They basically just rent from these really, really rich people. They tell the rich people, like, hey, I assure you that I will rent your helicopter for these many hours per month. I will also do the maintenance for you. Just give me the helicopter on whenever you are not using it. And yeah, we'll rent it out for you. And yeah, sorry,
So,
go
so
ahead.
early in the discussion, you mentioned that there's a risk of, if something bad happens, you are liable. So if Deccan is taking these helicopters from these ultra HNIs, who's liable? Because Deccan has taken the contract for maintenance and all of that. Who's liable here?
I wish I could tell you, but I can tell you a personal story. So I know somebody who I wish I knew them better because of what I'm about to say. They own a couple of private planes. They own a couple of helicopters. Very rich people. If I tell you the company they own, you'll know who they are. Um, they had a plane that crashed that they were renting out, and now they have a big criminal case with the government that's still ongoing, and it's causing a lot of stress to them. So I'm assuming that even if you give it out, you're still
There's
liable.
some liability that comes
Yeah,
to you. Yeah.
because and so this is a conversation I had with my friend as well. He said that what happens is that a lot of these people they corners, cut corners by using huge spare parts. So they import the spare parts from the US and they just install it in the helicopter. And yeah, they're saving money. But the thing is, you have to log every single hour of every single part that is used in your helicopter. It's a very regulated industry because safety is so important. Bloody Kobe Bryant, one of the biggest, one of the biggest stars in the world, died in a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
And you constantly hear of rich people dying in helicopter crashes because they are a bit unsafe.
Yeah. I
Anyway,
mean, and to that point on Kobe Bryant's death, I think his wife sued the company that was, managing the helicopters because they were not maintained properly or whatnot,
yeah.
right?
For those
Um,
of people who don't know, Kobe Bryant is probably one of the biggest basketball stars ever, on the
yeah,
same level as Michael
Michael
Jordan,
Jordan for
on
sure.
the same level as what's the name of that guy
LeBron,
right now, LeBron
LeBron.
James. So yeah, he
Yeah,
died in a helicopter crash in Los Angeles.
yeah,
Anyway, so just one last point. Like I was saying, they don't own the inventory. And in Bombay, what my friend said was that there are only about 5 or 7 helicopters that are actually open for rental. But, and this is a conversation that Siddharth and I just had, there are many more helicopters in Bombay, right? What did you find?
yeah. So there's a company called Pavan Hunts. that has 40 helicopters. I think they have the highest number of helicopters owned by a single company in India up on those 98 companies.
And you also mentioned another company, right? That's
Global Vectra.
yeah. So Global Vector and Pavan Hans, I think, are the same entity or this close by, because there's only one helicopter parking lot in Juhu,
Yeah,
where both
and
of them
Global
are
Vectra is
registered.
also Juhu.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So funny thing is, I grew up right next to Pavan Hans. I grew up literally my every so for people who don't know, off the coast of Bombay, there are many oil rigs that are run by ONGC. It's called Bombay High. And for Bombay High, there's a lot of maintenance that goes on. And every single day, there are probably 10, 12 helicopters that fly from Pavan Hans to go to Bombay High. And every single day, they should fly right over my school. So it was very funny because growing up, these helicopters would come and they're so loud. And there would be some teachers who try to shout over the helicopter, and some teachers who like knew like, hi, yeah, this happens every day. Just for 30 seconds, I have to shut up. I just have to let the helicopter go, and yeah, that'll be it. But also another funny story. My dad likes to tell me this. My grandfather, he went to Pavan Hans back, I think, in the 40s or the 50s, because one of the first aircraft landings in India, or helicopter landings, I don't know which one it was, happened at Pavan Hans.
Interesting.
And my grandfather had gone, like, driven, like, at that time Juhu, by the way, was out, like, in, it was a mangrove forest. Anyway, sorry, I'll
Yeah.
stop reminiscing of all these
Yeah,
things.
I have an interesting story here myself. I when I was lending, when I was at this fintech company that was in lending, one of the companies we evaluated for lending was a helicopter company, and they had a very interesting business model. So you spoke about all the numbers and how asset utilization is the entire game in this industry, right?
I forgot to say the break-even point
Oh
is
yeah, what's
around the
yeah?
break-even point is around 150 hours of flying per year,
Okay,
which is not
interesting.
too bad, which is
Yeah,
around 10 hours a month, 12 hours a
yeah.
month. But you cannot fly in monsoon at all. So 4 to 6 months, depending on where you are, is completely gone.
Interesting. So I was just, while you were talking about this, I was looking at Global Vectra. They are India's largest private sector helicopter operator. I don't know if they're related to Pawan Hans or not, but they are also public, which is interesting. Yeah.
So
Um,
you're going to give me some numbers.
so I don't know about these numbers, but I'll give you another company, which is one of their competitors, I guess. Himalayan Heli. Now, this is all public information, so I can't be sued for this. I assume the balance sheet is on MCA. That's what I took out to actually evaluate. They do about 50 to 60 crores in turnover. This is a couple of years back, probably took a hit during COVID, but 50 to 60 crores in turnover using 6 helicopters, right? And I've spoken to the team there and I've tried to evaluate the business model. What's interesting is their core business is in those 3, 4, 5 months when pilgrimage happens, when people go to Char Dham Yatra, when people go to, Kedarnath and different places, and they have helicopter tours. So again, rich folks don't want to spend too much time climbing all of that. They take this helicopter services, right? That's their core focus. And as somebody who was evaluating their business, I was like, this is too seasonal, too risky. No. And that's when it got interesting. They actually, when this season is not on, they do a lot of interesting side projects which makes the asset utilization numbers work, right? What do they do? So there's geophysical surveys that the government takes on, right? Saying that, hey, go check this field out, go check this, like, water body, whatnot. That's one of the things that they do. They do power lining stringing, right? You see, when you're traveling, you see these huge sort of towers with, like, long power lines.
My industry.
Your industry, exactly, right? So they do that kind of stringing, and they do a bunch of other services when the season is not on, to keep the asset utilization game on point. They have 6 helicopters. I think a combination of single engine and double engine, probably more single engine. And their cost for one Char Dham Yatra, by the way, is 1,65,000 rupees per person, right? This involves some sort of like stay for a night or two, but a lot of it obviously goes into the helicopter cost, right? And we're going to do a detailed deep dive at a later episode around the business of religion, and how that's a very interesting place to be in.
So that before we stop, you
Yeah.
told me that Global Vectra is a public company, so I looked up their financials. Let's discuss that.
Yeah, let's do
How
it.
many helicopters did you say they have?
This company just had 6.
No, Global Vectra.
Oh, I don't know, sorry.
Okay, fair enough. Pavan Hans, we know from the file you found, has around 40, 45, right?
I remember. Global Vectra has 28.
Okay, they have 28 helicopters. They do on average around 500 crores of revenue over the last 5 years. So their max revenue was 2019, where they did 480 crores. So they're doing around 20 crores of revenue per helicopter,
Yeah.
which seems to match what you were saying about the other one. They were doing about 10 crores of revenue
exactly.
per helicopter. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming because this one has ONGC as a client, that's why it's much higher.
And the fact that, as you earlier said, because this is over water, this has to be double engine, and therefore the cost of asset is also high, and the revenue you make is also
exactly
high. Yeah.
So but where it gets interesting is I wish they had the EBITDA numbers, but no, they have the EBIT numbers.
Okay.
What the difference is, EBITDA also includes your before depreciation, but this EBIT is after depreciation, which for an asset heavy industry like this, depreciation would be very high.
Yeah.
But anyways, EBIT is very low. In 2019, which was the highest ever year, the EBIT was only 21 crores, which is about 5%, which is
Interesting.
very low for the risk that they're taking with the amount of capital that they have.
Yeah.
The EBIT is only 21 crores, and the interest payments that year were 13 crores. So their net margin was barely 7 crores on 480 crores of revenue.
But you never know with these businesses, man. Like, especially in that 400, 500 crore category, still SMEs by some large banks, they still call them SMEs. The kind of financial engineering these guys are capable of.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's a public company, right? So wouldn't you be optimizing to get your share price high?
That's
because
true.
their market cap is only 67 crores for
Wow.
a 500 crore company.
Wow.
I'm assuming the book value of their helicopters is probably worth more than the entire market cap.
Yeah, 28 helicopters for sure.
Yeah, I mean 28 helicopters at 2 crores by itself is 56 crores.
Yeah.
And these have to be double engine.
Yeah.
So that means at least 5 crores.
Yeah.
It's
Have we just uncovered a gem of an investment? This is not investment advice. Please don't. I mean, we just looked it up.
Yeah.
But interesting business.
They were very badly hit by Corona. So I think their total revenues this year is just going to be, they haven't released their latest financials, but I'm assuming it'll just be 250, 300 crores, something like that.
Yeah.
Which is still a big company, but but they're going to be heavily in loss. I looked at their quarterlies and they were in loss for all the quarters of FY21. Anyway, this is the helicopter rental business. This is a deeper dive than I expected us to do. It was really interesting. And thanks, Siddharth. And thanks for listening. If you have heard all the way through,
I have a request to make. If you want us to explore different kinds of industry, or a business that you've been curious about, or a business that you have a very good handle on and you want to come on the show and actually talk to us about it, all of those are fair game. So leave a comment, reach out to us. Sahil, let's put the Twitter links in the description so that people can reach out to us on DMs.
For sure.
And let's do it.
Okay. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. And I see there are 2 people listening to us live.